Hi, this is Lynn from Kathy Quilts. Trying to get this figured out. This is our 21 Pro. Yeah, I'm sorry. We're having some technical issues, but I'm trying to get this set up. So bear with me for just a second. Gosh, dang it. Okay. I'll have the picture up here in just a second. Technology is proving to be a little trickier than I thought. Okay. Haha. Here we go. Hi, this is Lynn and Kathy Quilts, and welcome to our live stream. This is a lot different than doing our show in Madison, so we hope that it's a good experience for you guys. Anyway, this is our Block Rocket 21 Pro. It's a wonderful machine, and we just totally love it. It works just like any of those expensive machines. And the thing that makes this one so nice is this touch screen. It has a bobbin estimator, so I can go in and I can set my bobbin so that it tells me when it's nearing the end. I can turn that on and off. I can have overspeed, so like if I go too fast, then I can make it so that it tells me, it'll beep and tell me I'm going too fast for the regulator to keep up. And also I can have my needle go either halfway down when I'm doing my needle up down, or do a complete cycle. And so right now it's set to half stitch. So if we go back here, and then if I touch this, you'll notice the needle just goes down once, and then when I touch it again, it'll come up. But if I want to, I can actually go in and do that so it does a complete stitch. So when I want to bring my bobbin thread up, I can go like that. And if I push this button, oops, I got to get out of the back to the main screen. If I push this, it does the full stitch, and then I can pull that up. And then with my scissors, I can go in and I can cut my thread. So really, really cool, awesome little machine. Um, so if you have questions, I think you can type those in. Just give me just one moment. Hi, this is Lynn. Um, Hopefully you can hear me. Um, anyway, I'm showing our Block Rocket 21 Pro. really awesome machine. I think I want to get a different view of this though, so give me just a moment. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. So this is our long arm machine. It's our top of the line one. Really, really like this machine. Just works out so well. It's priced so much better than any of the other machines, but it works just as well as a Handy Quilter or Innova or any of those. Really, really awesome. The one thing I really like about this machine though is this touch screen. It has this bobbin estimator. I don't know if you can see that clearly, but really nice 5-inch touchscreen, and it allows me to go through the different modes. And I can do however many stitches I want. I can take a single stitch if I want. Now this is one thing that's really neat. Sometimes you want to be able to have your needle a little closer to your quilt so that you can get it exactly where you want it when you're going to do your needle up down. And since this machine is so long, I can't reach all the way to the back. So I can use this needle jog, and that incrementally will lower the needle, or I can go back up. And that way, it's just like reaching way back there to do that. So really, really cool. So that's really fun. Going and setting the different things is really, really easy. If I do that, then it won't make the sound if I go too fast when I'm quilting. It's a special alarm letting you know if you're outrunning your stitch regulator. And then I can also switch the buttons so that I can have my start stop. Instead of being here, I can do it over there. So right left-handed people, they can do what they want. Bobbin, wine, morning. I can also turn off the light above my needle. And that's really nice because sometimes if you're quilting white on white, you might not be able to see where you were quilting. And so it's just really nice to be able to do that. And I can go into my system and it shows like how many stitches I have, total hours run. Just really a fun little setup. It has a help screen, tells you what the buttons do, and explains a lot of things. So really simple. Um, so I can go into my bobbin estimator, and when my bobbin's full, I can tell it approximately how many yards are on it. And so then I can go and adjust that. And after I do that, then when I am getting close, it'll go from green to amber to red. So really, really cool. So see, I don't know if anybody has any questions. Hang on just a sec. Okay, I'm actually going to move this camera a little further away. And it cuts my head off. Let me see if I can adjust that. Oh, that's a lot better. Except for now, it's kind of dark. So anyway, let's move this a little bit closer. Yeah, I don't see any questions, so For the people that are watching, if you can type in any questions that you might have, I'd love to answer them. And tell me if you think doing this virtual show is just a little bit different, or if you think that it might be a good way to go. Yeah, I apologize for the lighting. I thought that we would have some different lighting that would really help out, and hopefully tomorrow we'll be able to have things kind of ironed out so that it works out a lot better. Our 21 Pro, it's really an easy machine to use. Unlike a lot of machines that are this big, this one just glides around so easily that it's not, even though it is a kind of a heavy machine, it moves so easily, and it's really nice. We have this is a continuum frame, and so this is a little bit smaller setup. We obviously don't have a lot of room to be able to set it up, full size, but you can get it as an 8, 10, or a 12-foot frame. And so the beauty of it is you can set it up the size you need, and then uh, when you don't need to have so much room taken up, you can just shrink it up. So works out really, really well. Um, yeah, this is so much easier when people have questions, and then I can tell them. But I'd especially love to know if people can hear me and know what's going on. So give me just one quick second. So it looks like we have a few people watching, and so I'm hoping that we have audio. If somebody could, oh, you can. Oh, great. Thanks. Appreciate that, Sydney. I have these little headphones in, and so I was hoping the microphone on that would work out really well. Um, anyway, does anyone who's watching have any questions or anything that might be able to answer? And I can tell you about Kathy Quilts. I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with us, but we've been around for about 24 years. We started out selling grace frames years and years ago when they were kind of a smaller company. Um, and anyway, I just needed to know if the audio worked, and apparently it's working great. Anyway, Kathy Quilts, we've been around, and so basically Kathy's the quilter, and I'm her husband. And for years we've been selling grace frames, and about about almost 7 years ago, we started selling machines. So we got into doing long arm machines. So we started off with a 15-inch machine, which was a really, really nice one. It's very affordable. And so a ton of people would buy those. And then later on, the Grace company started selling the Cunique. We have the Block Rocket. Um, And so they're the same machine. So now what we do is, since the Grace Company is the one who makes these for us, we sell both Qnique and Block Rocket. But they're just really fun machines. We just really enjoy selling them and helping people quilt. And there's so many people out there that just didn't want to have to spend, $10,000, $20,000 just so that they could see if they enjoyed machine quilting. So the beauty of what we do is we have machines that are like way more affordable. Um, and we do have free shipping during the show. So which normally we would charge around 197 if you're purchasing a machine and a frame combo. For us to ship those, it's usually going to cost us around $350 to do that. But anything above the 197, we would just cover. But during this show, we're doing free shipping. So that can save you quite a bit, and you can put that money towards other accessories. Um, but we just really enjoy this, and we're so excited about our 21 Pro, which is come a long way from the 15-inch machine that we started out with. And one thing that's really nice is that this frame, continuum frame, what's neat about it is that it's made to work with a variety of machines. So you don't, if you start off with a 15-inch machine, later on, if you want to trade that in and then you want to upgrade to the bigger machine, these rails telescope in and out. And so it allows you to be able to um, keep the same frame and not have to keep on reinvesting in a whole new setup. Um, so I keep on looking to see if there's any questions. But anyway, um, just like to welcome you to this great, awesome quilt show. The Madison show is the one that we really look forward to all year. We are so missing being able to go to Madison. We live in Utah, and so it's a little bit of a trip for us to go there. We always will go up through Yellowstone and then take a few extra days, and so it's so fun to travel over there. Not a lot of fun to have to go through tornadoes and stuff, but we've done that too. Anyway, um, the the machines are just so awesome. We just really love them. Hopefully, uh, you're if you have questions about a machine, you can email me. You can contact us while we're doing this live stream. Um, uh, Also, um, if you want to type something in right now that I can answer, I'd really appreciate it, because it gives me uh, some things to say and help and be able to do. Um, Now, one thing I haven't talked about on this machine that is really cool is it does have adjustable handles. So if I loosen that up, then I can move my handle like that, or sometimes I'll even want to have it come down a little bit. So if I don't have really long arms to move that machine forward and back, by doing this, it's a shorter distance. And for a lot of the people, if they find that it's just the throat depth is a little bit too long, a lot of those people will end up getting the automation. So you can get robotics with this, and again, it's just a lot more affordable than the other ones, and it has a ton of really awesome features. So that way, it's like hiring somebody to quilt for you. You just go and you're basically telling them what to do, what to what you want, and then the machine will stitch it out for you with the robotics. So really awesome to be able to do that. So we also have uh, 21R, which means it's a regulated machine. And our R right now is on sale uh, for about $1,500 off what it normally sells for. So really amazing to go. Our 15-inch machines start at around uh, 4,000 or 49.99, something like that. Anyway, all of a sudden my mind kind of goes blank while I'm doing this because this is new for me. I don't do this an awful lot, so I hope you bear with me and we'll just you know do a lot better tomorrow as we get this experience today. But we have our 15-inch Pro, and then we have a 19-inch machine, which is going to be just a little bit longer. And those machines, if you measure from the needle inside the arm of the machine, that is where we get those numbers. So this one is 21, and then like I was saying though, our 19 and our 21R are on just a huge discount this month, and so it's a great time to get a machine. And what we find that's really nice about the 19 is there's other companies out there that have 18-inch throat machines, but there's people that think, man, I really would like to have something just a little bit bigger. And so the thing is, by going with the 19, for us it wasn't that much more expensive to build a 19, but it gave people even just that 1 inch was all they needed to not have to think, well, I need to upgrade to like a 21 or a 24 or whatever. Because when you start getting those longer and longer lengths, unless you're really tall and have really long arms, it's going to be really difficult to be able to quilt all the way to the back, starting out there. So that's why we've stopped at a 21-inch machine, because that's a machine that a lot of people, that's really about the furthest away that they can go and still be under control. So unless you're like doing a full-on business or something like that, and have the robotics, getting anything that much bigger than the 21 inches is just too long. Oh, looks like we have some other things here. Which machine or okay, this is our 21 Pro. And so the difference between this 21 Pro and the 21R is this touch screen. So usually, in the past, I used to think touch screens were more or less just, some kind of a novel thing. But the Grace Company's done a really good job of incorporating things into the touch screen that are just so neat. Now, one thing I really like, and I don't know if you guys can see, let's see, there's some more questions. Okay, so there's a couple other questions that I'm going to answer in just a moment after I finish this, but I just want to kind of tell you about the touch screen, some of the things that you can do, because you can go in and you can change all these things really easily. But when you're quilting, these buttons over here, you can still use these buttons. And so if I turn this on, then I can quilt. And then I can increase my stitches per inch or decrease them with these buttons. So that's nice because I have buttons there that I can do that with. And then over here, if I want to go into changing, my bottom button will take me into the main menu. So I can do that without having to put my hand up there. So this is really nice. This needle jog function is really neat because sometimes, like if I wanted to place my needle in a specific place, and my needle is up a little bit, I can't maybe eyeball it and see exactly where I want it. So if I go like this, I can get it. And this is in essence like turning the hand wheel. So I can just hit that jog and it'll incrementally go down a little bit. And so then once I get it, I think that's where I want it, then I can do my needle up down button. Now I can do a single stitch if I want, but if it's not where I want, I can back it back up. So pretty cool. So now one of the questions that somebody has asked is, how much space does this take up? So the thing about this machine is it can go on an 8-foot, a 10-foot, or a 12-foot frame. So if you have an 8-foot frame, then that's going to be, roughly, it's going to be a little bit more, about 6 inches more than 8 feet that way. So depending upon which machine you put on it, because you can go anywhere from a 15-inch machine up to the 21. And so that's just going to take up a little more space this way. So on the 21-inch machine, if you measure from these rails here to where the machine overhangs off the back, it's about 55 inches front to back. But when you're using like the 15-inch machine, these rails will slide in, and then that way you end up not taking up so much room this way. But it's really neat. There's a lot of people that when they purchase their frame, like the 8-foot, the 10-foot, the 12-foot, they all cost the same amount. And so if you get the 12-foot, even if you don't have room for that, then you can set your frame up. And right now, the way they have that configured is you would have an 8-foot, and then you would do the 2-foot extension. That's how you get the 10-foot. And then with the another 2-foot extension, then it goes out to 12. So with that, you could actually set your frame up because it comes in 4-foot sections. So you could set it up at 4-foot, at 6-foot if you wanted to. And then if you need a little bit more, you can just keep adding those different things. Now, when you're going from one size to the next, it's actually a lot easier than you think to go and do that. So what I normally would do is I would roll my machine all the way down to the one end and just have my one of the center legs available, and I would have loosened up this side, and then it's really easy to just even kind of hold it up, especially if you have two people. But you just have somebody hold it up, and then you take the end off and put one of the middle legs in, and then you do those bolts on, and then you can just add your other section. The tracks that the machine rolls on when you're changing the length, you'll take those off because you'll have whatever length you're doing is either a 4-foot or an 8-foot, and so you'll have that section, and then you'll have some longer track that come with those extensions. Typically, those were made to work on a 10-foot frame, and so you should have 12 feet worth of track in your 2-foot extension. So that way you could, make sure that you had one complete track that went the length of your frame, regardless of what size you're doing. Now also, you can't really do an awful lot. You can see that it's a little bit smaller, but it's really good for doing demos. But again, when you set this one up, this is actually the 4-foot section. So that would be like, I'd have it set up 8 feet if I was really going to do stuff. So doing a quilt on the 8-foot frame, because you can't really quilt, too much beyond that. You can go a little bit more, but then you start to hit the sides. So when you're quilting on a 8-foot frame, you really are only going to be able to quilt like maybe a 75-inch wide quilt. So that's why it's nice to have those other things. So like typically on the 10-foot frame, you're going to be able to do about a 110-inch wide quilt. So that's about the max, and that would be with it, almost all the way out there. So that's what's nice about having that other extension, that when and if you ever have those bigger quilts, then you can just add that other 2 foot extension and go out, as far as you need to. So that works out really well. Um, let's see. Are there any other questions that people can think of right now? If not, I will just talk about some of the other features here. Now, unlike some of the machines out there, this one has its own bobbin winder. So that's really nice because whenever you have to have a separate bobbin winder, like Handy Quilter still has never integrated one into there. And I understand why they did that, because the original person who started Handy Quilter, her dad loved to tinker, loved to make little things, and they hated the bobbin winder that came on the Gamma, and that's what Laurel started with. So the thing is, she had her dad build this little bobbin winder, and so the bobbin winder that they do now, it's still essentially the same exact one that he did for them all those years ago. So it's really interesting. But we like to have our bobbin winder on here, and since it has its own motor, whether I have the machine running or not, I can wind a bobbin. I just push that like that, and then as soon as it's full, then, and so I could have another cone of thread for just winding bobbins if I wanted to on there, and then it would just wind. So really, really nice. This machine also, for those who just started, it does have the capability of adding the robotics to it. So you can have this automated, really, really fun, just an awesome machine. Now, this machine right now, it sells just for the machine head by itself. I think it retails for $9,999, and I believe we have it on sale for $89.99. And so, uh, but the kind of younger brother of this one, or the other one that's just a step down, is just the 21R. That one we have a really good sale on right now. And so if you go to kathyquilts.com, then you'll be able to see the pricing that we have on those things. But the 19 and the 21R have some really huge discounts right now. So and the thing is kind of neat is that as you're going from like our 15-inch machine, which is it's pretty nice, and for a lot of people that's all they really need, just jumping up to the 15 Pro. So the 15 Pro is going to have a touch screen. It's not the big one like this. It's a little bit smaller, but it allows you to do a lot of the cool things that you can't do with the regulated 15-inch machine. So I really, really like the touch screens. And again, like for those that um, haven't heard me talk about that before, they used to be kind of gimmicky. Having touch screens, it's kind of like, yeah, I mean, if I can just do this stuff, just doing the buttons, why do I want to do that? But they actually are really neat, and they allow you to do a lot of things that you can't do otherwise. Uh, the 15 Pro, you can't turn the light on and off over the needle like this, like you can on this one, and on the 19-inch machine you can do that too. But other than that, it's really neat. The 15 Pro has a 2,000 stitches per minute, as well as the 19. So they have the same motor, and they have the same regulator, stitch regulator, and all that in there. So they're closely related that way. The 15R and the 21R, the R standing for regulated, they have a little tiny display. And all that display does is it tells you what mode you're in. You don't touch the screen. It just basically lets you know what mode you're in. You don't really need to have that. I mean, if it ever broke or whatever, you could still quilt. It's just that you'd have to kind of guess what mode you're in. But once you're used to it, you probably don't even look at that much anyway. Um, So also on this one, uh, the threading this is actually really, really simple. I'm going to just move this camera over here a little bit so that you can get a better idea. Okay. So maybe back a little bit. So you can see the thread rests on this little shelf here and it has this little stand. And so the reason why we have two is if I want to, I can be changing colors on my thread, or I could just, if I wanted to wind bobbins, I could do that. But threading is really easy. You come up through this thread guide and then you go through this post and then it comes through this subtension and it goes into the regular tension. Now, the thing that's really interesting is a lot of people don't realize that on the majority of adjustments I'm going to do on my tension, it's all going to be up at this top tension. There's a lot of people that um, they um, they're concerned about the bobbin tension, and bobbin tension is, on this machine is actually fairly loose. And so the thing that people don't realize is that tension is kind of like a tug of war. And so if you have a flat uh, piece of thread up on top, that means your top tension's too tight. And so if you just loosen your tension, then the tension of the bobbin will naturally pull the thread more into the quilt and it'll give you a better stitch. If you can put your hand underneath when you're quilting, and if you feel nubs or anything, then that means you need to tighten your top tension, and then it pulls it up, and so then it forms a better stitch. This also has what they call channel locks, and so you can lock your frame so that if you want to do things just forward and back, you can do that. Really, really cool. I don't have the channel lock on this side, but that's normally where we go. So if I lock that wheel, then I could do side to side. This one's for front to back. You can see that this is really simple. It's not, it is made out of a special polycarbonate, kind of a plastic, but um, these are strong. Obviously, you don't want to be like hitting them against the floor or anything, but this system will last for years and years and years. And so the Grace Company is just really good at engineering, so they understand how things work. Now, this is where you can see those two notches. There's a notch here, there's a notch here. And what that does is when I'm quilting with like a 15-inch machine, I would have this slid in so that it would be there. This way, I have it because since I have the 21-inch machine and I need that much more depth, that's a little indicator to let me know where that is. Also, these are height adjustable, which is really, really nice. And so the way that these rails are configured, you could actually sit down at this frame if you wanted to. Just have a chair that you would scoot along the floor and you could quilt if you felt like you'd rather sit down. These have these bungee clamps, which are really fun. So I can just go like that, and then they will hang on there. So typically you're going to have your quilt back be, at least 2 to 3 inches wider. Sometimes you'll have your batting come, out too. And then that way you make sure that you don't have any uh, things where you have like what Kathy calls a disappearing back. And she's had before where she had to go and actually try to piece on something, while she was working on the quilt. And so, but that's, if you measure ahead of time, then, you can avoid that. This has this handle for cranking it, so you can advance it that way, or if you want, you actually can, there's other ways of doing that. You can just grab it and roll it with your hand. Let's see if we have, oh, here's some other questions. Support. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, so the support, what we do, Kathy Quilts is a little bit different than other companies in that we have um, lifetime support and we do our training. So there's a lot of other people that do support, but the thing is, training is like another story. We like to do our. Oh, that's not gonna work. Sorry, give me a sec. Okay. Anyway, so the support that we do is with our videos, or people email us, they text us, and so as long as they own their Block Rocket or Qnique, they can ask us. I'm sorry about that clock, but they um, we have videos that we do the training, but a lot of times people just have to ask us questions and we just go back and forth and help them. And so it's really nice because a lot of companies, they're like, if you went and you purchased a car, they're not going to ask you, well, how well do you drive before they let you drive it off the lot? I mean, if you have the money, you can get the finance or whatever. It's like, yeah, what you do with it, you could park it. I don't care. But for us, the success that you have with your quilting is what we're all about because we know that there's a lot of people out there that they get a little bit intimidated by their machines. We've had people who have come to our booth when we're at shows and they're like, I have this Tin Lizzy or I have this handy quilter, I have this or that, and I'm just terrified of it. And I've had it for a year or two, and I've never even finished a quilt on it. And so for us, that's like, it's just it's tragedy. So what we want to do is we want to demystify the quilting and help you so that you understand that it's so, it's easy to learn how to quilt. There's nobody who ever, well, very few people anyway, that can just go and never have touched a piano, just sit down and start playing beautifully. Everybody starts off with scales, or they start off, playing around on it somehow, and then through practice, they can learn how to do it. Now, not everybody that practices is going to be like a concert pianist, but the thing is, they can be an accomplished uh, player. And it's the same thing with quilting. There might be some people that are gifted and that they have an idea of, like what to put where. And so they may be able to quilt differently. But, the people that do those kind of show quilts and stuff like that, they might work on those quilts for like a month or months, whereas the majority of people that are machine quilting, they're doing it for something that they want, what they want to throw. They want it to where it can be, something that they're using on their bed. And, you're not going to do show quality quilting on those. And so that's why we want to teach you how to be efficient with your quilting, and you can learn how to do some really awesome quilting without having to, think that, well, I'm not that good of a quilter. I mean, basically, quilting is just going to be having a back, the batting, a top, and then just quilting on it, and then it's a quilt. So there's no reason to be intimidated by it, but if you want to take your quilting to another level and learn how to do feathers and learn how to do other things, those are the kind of things that if you ask us, then we can help you. So sometimes we shoot videos on those. Other times we just help you like over the phone, or sometimes what people will do is they will have a quilt and they will ask Kathy's, and well, like, what can I do on this? I mean, I'm kind of having a kind of creative block here. And so what we can do is people take pictures of that, and then we can pull it into like our iPad Pro, and then Kathy can actually draw on it and with a little stylus, and then it'll record that, and so then we can say, hey, well, you could do this, and you move it around, and then that way you can look at that, and it's like having a little training video. So really, really cool, and it's with your quilt, so it gives you some good ideas. Now, there are some other techniques that Kathy really likes. Whenever there's something that she's not quite sure what it's going to look like, she'll get press and seal, and she'll stick it on the quilt. And then she'll get a magic marker, and then she'll actually draw right on that press and seal. And then that way she can, go through several different versions of it until she finds the one she likes. And then after she sees it, she doesn't really need to like follow it with a laser or anything like that. I mean, she could just see it and think, oh yeah, that's what I'm going to do, and then she just quilt it. But if you're not quite that good at it, then what you could do is you could actually move it off to the side a little bit, because you're not going to want to quilt through it, because then once you quilted through it, for one thing, you'd have to pick it all out of there, but also you'd have to your design would be gone. So anyway, there's a lot of cool techniques. We have an ebook that we really like. It's been awesome. We've actually had that one out since about 2011, and we also have an updated version of that deals with our 15-inch machine that we were like redoing to include all of our machines. So anyway, yeah, we just uh, love to help people learn how to quilt, and so whenever people, if they ask us questions, then we can help them. So pretty neat. Now, another thing too that I want to talk about is for people who own a Block Rocket 14 plus or a 15, or a Cunique 14 plus or a 15R. We do have an upgrade program, so that for those people, if you want to get a 19 or a 21-inch machine, then we can actually give you anywhere from $22 to $2,500 credit towards a new machine. Now, if you don't have a continuum frame, then getting the 21-inch machine is going to be a little more difficult. Now, people that have some of the other earlier Grace frames, they might be able to put the 19-inch machine on there, because some of those were built for 18-inch machine heads, and so with that, you would lose about an inch, but that would be a way you could start, and then later on, upgrade and get your frame. So those are some good ideas. We just want to be progressive and try to help people on their path to being able to quilt and just have a better quilting experience. Let's see, I don't see any of the new questions. So for anybody that's just joined us, this is our 21-inch Pro machine, and it has this really cool touch screen, which really makes it easy. It has a bobbin estimator, meaning that you're going to be able to have an idea of when your bobbin is going to run out. The more you quilt with these machines, you actually can hear a noise. It's just the pitch of the machine sounds a little different just before it runs out. So, that's one thing, but this is a little nicer, because that way, if you're going to start another row or something like that, and you can see that it's already red, then you may want to just pull your bobbin out and then just put a new bobbin in, and that way you don't have to like stop in the middle of that row. So pretty awesome. Um, okay, let's see. Doing close up. I like how you showed the threading. Okay, yeah, yeah. Well, I'd love to just do some more close-ups. So um, this is the touch screen is a little bit better thing now. Right now, it's in regulate cruise. So what that means is that when I stop, the machine will keep on stitching, just a little bit. Um, Typically, I use precise, so that would be this one. So now the difference with precise is that when I stop, the needle will just stop and hesitate. And then unless I move the machine just a little bit, it won't go at all. So that's really cool. And then we have a base, which you can do a short, or you can do a medium or long. I don't typically like doing basting on here unless I have like I'm going to be doing some kind of applique or something that has a rough edge that I want to be able to just tack down on the quilt because base stitch is typically made to tear out, whereas when we put our quilt on, what we do is we will um, actually, you can see that we have this pinned. I can unroll this a little bit and then you can get a better idea. But what we do is we'll pin the quilt back on, and then we lay the batting on, lay the top on, and then we stitch it down. And so that will fasten it to the quilt back. And the reason why we do it this way is that when we're done and we want to take those pins out, the pins will be, the heads are on this side of the quilt. So if I'm standing in the back, or like even from the front, I can just quickly take those pins and get them out. But if you try to pin that from this side, like from the front, then your pin heads would actually be under this, and so yeah, you don't want to do that. Um, so that's really cool. And this is the little foot that comes on it. There is some other accessories, so you can get different accessory feet. This is a close-up of the bobbin winder. You can see that there's the bobbin, and then just as you push that little cam in, it will go in and it'll um, wind until it's set to a predetermined uh, fullness, and then it pops out. So that's really cool. Um, and again, uh, I don't know if Anne saw that these handles are adjustable, but sometimes people want to be able to have their thing for like micro stippling or something. They may actually do it this way. And so these, and then also these will telescope in and out. So that's kind of neat. So it just depends upon, if you need a little bit extra length on that or not. Um, back. And I really like being able to turn the light off on this because if I'm ever quilting like white on white or I just can't see what I've been quilting, what I'll do is I'll put a lamp over on the end of my frame, and I go into my settings. So let me go back over here. So this is where I was. So I go from settings, and then I can turn my light off, and so you can see now the light's off, now the light's on. So it's really handy to be able to do that. And then here's another one that's really awesome that I like, and this is a feature that's available with both the um, And say, well, any of them that have the touch screen, any of our machines that are doing that. So let's see, hang on a sec. Okay, that's on this camera. So give me a sec. Yeah, it's kind of hard to see that. I'm gonna see if I can get in a little closer. Hopefully you guys will be able to see that a little better. So anyway, this needle mode. So this is for needle up down. And if I go like this, now when I press my needle up down, so that's going to be this button. If I go like this, oh, I got to get back into the main screen. So if I go, let's see, let me get over to, well, there's manual speed, but okay, regulate, precise. See how it just goes down half, just half the stitch, and then it comes up. So I can pull my bobbin up. But if I want to change that, um, one thing I can do is I can do needle up down just this way and it'll just do the half stitch. But if I want to, I can have it so I can do a full stitch. And then also I can have it where my needle stops in the up or down position. So I do up typically just because when we're at shows, we don't want people just coming along starting to try to move it around with the needle in the down position. But now if I go like this, you can watch, hopefully you can see the needle, but it does a full stitch. And so it's just really, really slick the way that works. And so what that does is it makes it so that you don't have to keep on pushing that button like, on Kathy's Gamble, she's like, and she has to keep on pushing this. So this is just more efficient. It's just really, really cool. And then if I'm trying to get this needle to go right back where my thread is coming out, and this is up a little bit, it's kind of, until you get really used to it, it might be a little bit difficult. So you can go like this, and you can use your needle jog. And so I put your needle a little closer to where you want it, and then you can do that, or you can just do your needle up down and make it so it's just half stitch. And you can just go like that, and then there it goes. So pretty cool. Um, let's see. Okay. Now, threading and tension on this machine are really simple. You can see that you have your cone, and you want to use the cone whenever you're working on that. But if you just have a small spool, they have a horizontal spool thread holder that you can put on there instead. But if you don't use spool thread that much, you actually, when you're doing it, you could just put your spool right on this post, because spools have to turn, whereas cone thread is made to sit stationary. You can see since it has this taper, it's made to come off the top. And so that's why this has to be directly above this to make sure that it unwinds properly. And then as it comes down through here, this, believe it or not, even though it just has these two holes, this little post, this is a actual tension thing. So the thread will be all bouncy from here to here, and then from here it's just a little bit less bouncy, but this actually tames the thread down so that when it comes down into this tension, so it comes from here into this little hook and then wraps around there and then comes around this one and goes up here down to here, and then above the needle there's a little hole, and then in the eye. And so what that does is there's a little tiny groove in your needle so that when it goes down in the material, it kind of lets that thread go inside that groove so that the fabric isn't going to put extra tension on your thread and break it. So that's why long arm needles are built differently than the other ones. So real quick, just to talk about, let's see, oh, just to talk a little bit about tension. Tension is, for a lot of people, it's kind of an enigma. It's kind of a tricky thing. Let's see, if I go like this, I can go like that, and then I can actually move my machine off. Let's see, I don't know if you can't really see that. Let me adjust this a little bit. Okay. So let's see if we can get a little bit better. Maybe on that just a touch. Okay, so what I did was I just quilted over to the side, and now, see, I'm going to get rid of my bungee clamp. Now I can go underneath and I can look at that and I can see if my stitches look good. Now, another thing that I'll do though is I'll put my hand under here and just with my fingernail, I'll just rub that. And if I can feel any nubs, if I can feel anything that, it's not a perfect stitch, then I'll look at it and say, oh yeah, look at that. And so basically, doing tension, it's like a tug of war. And so it's like the top is fighting against the bobbin and the bobbin is fighting against the top. And so to get good stitches, what you have to do is you have to have that happy medium, be able to figure out, what it is you are looking for. So basically, let's see if we can get this. Sorry about the camera angle. This way. Okay, so give me a moment. Sorry. Okay. So anyway, with stitching and getting that tension, it's not as difficult as you think. So basically, if I don't have a perfectly formed stitch on the back side of my quilt, then what that means is that I need more tension on the top and it'll pull it up. If I have more of a flat line and I don't have any definition up on top, that means that it's it's actually too tight, and so then I can loosen it up. So if you ever get those things that people call eyelashes, that basically means that if the eyelashes are on the back of the quilt, it means that your quilt top the thread up on or it's too loose, and then if you get them up on top here, as you go around a corner, then that means that you're too tight on the top and that bottom can't pull that down into place. So let's see, Anne, if you have any other questions. Back to the thing about the videos, we do have a bunch of videos on YouTube, and so if you want to subscribe, and I think you may actually have to hit like some kind of a notification button, and then that way it will notify you when we post a new video. So anyway, if you guys want to subscribe, we'd love to have you. See. Anyway, it looks like we have some new people that have joined in, and so just real quick, this is our Block Rocket 21-inch machine. It's our Pro version, so it has the touch screen, and it's just really phenomenal machine. The Grace Company has been working on getting a machine that wasn't just like, well, this is a really good machine for the money. This is just like an awesome machine. It's smoother, it's quieter, and has less vibration than any of the other machines that they have come up with. And so they are just awesome engineers, and they never just sit around thinking, yeah, that's good enough. They're always constantly thinking, hey, we can make this better, and so they're able to go in and do a lot of really awesome things. This machine, there is another version of it. It's called the 21R, which isn't as fancy because it doesn't have the touch screen. Uh, but as far as how it stitches and everything, it stitches at 1,800 stitches a minute. This one actually will stitch up to 2,400 stitches per minute. So has a faster motor, has a better stitch regulator. But on the other one, it does really well for just what it does. Let's see, I gotta uh, do my headphones. So if I lose audio, you guys will have to let me know. Anyway, can somebody type and tell me if you can still hear me? Hopefully, just with the one headphone thing in, you can still hear. So I'm assuming that we can. Anyway, this machine is. Oh, good, good. Thanks, Ann. Appreciate that. Um, so this machine is just really, really awesome. So it can easily be compared to any of the over 20-inch machines, Handy Quilter or Innova or even Gamel. Those guys do, And I'm not saying that it's a better machine, but what I'm saying is that it compares very nicely, and so the thing is, you don't have to feel like, well, I'm settling for a budget machine instead of doing this other one, because that's totally not the case at all. This one uh, quilts has a really nice stitch. Has the cool bobbin estimator thing, and it's just so simple to thread and to use. It's easy to set up, and so that's one thing that maybe I didn't mention too. Let me talk about this. Some of the machine companies out there, they don't seem to think that there's a big deal, but see, this one has these dual wheels, and so by having these wheels like this, see, there's actually 8 wheels on the machine, and then there's 8 wheels on the carriage. Handy Quilter and some of the others out there, they only have um, a single wheel on their machine, and then the dual wheels are just on the lower carriage. And by having these dual wheels like that, that they they have that V shape, it helps to keep the machine in place. It makes it so that it'll track better, and there's ways that you can loosen up the wheels, the little blocks that hold those wheels, so that when you roll it around, you know that it's tracking on that flat track. Some of the older Grace frames have a V-shaped track, and they just, that was okay way back then, but now they've found that doing this flat track like this track, as long as you don't have something that falls and hits it and gouges it, um, this track's going to last basically forever. And so it just takes very low maintenance, just dust it every now and again, dust it before you use it, just run some batting or something down it. Some people will use Clorox wipes, just anything like that will just keep the dust off the track. And then when you are quilting on it, you have a smoother feel, but also you don't get a lot of material, dirt and lint and stuff stuck to your steel wheels. So really, really awesome. Let's see what else. Um, I'm going to talk to you about the frame, for anybody that's new out there. Let's see. Do all the machines come with 3 rollers or okay. Yeah, that's a really good question. Thanks, Ann. Okay, so basically we do have uh, another frame where it has just the 2 rails, has a take-up rail and a quilt back rail, and then just the things will hang down. There are people that will use quilters clips, which uh, they will roll the quilt back, will roll up on this rail, but then their batting and their top they'll have just hang down. And so there's clips that will clip on there. For this frame, those clips, are available. They're just called quilters clips, and they're like 2 feet long, and they come in a set of 4, and they're like $50 for those. Um, but you can actually not use the quilt top rail. Reason why Kathy likes to use the quilt top rail is just because that way she has a little bit more control over the tension of the quilt. So now this is another thing. It's a lot of people don't realize is that you don't need to have this quilt tension tight as a drum. I have people call me because they have issues where they're skipping stitches, uh, a lot of times it's because their quilt is too tight. And so you don't need to have it very tight. And then that way you get a better stitch because if your quilt is too tight, what happens is after, if you're not skipping stitches, but you take it off the frame, then your quilt will try to shrink back to it'll shrink back to its original shape. And then what that does is it makes it so that you get little waves in your quilt. So it's just better to not have it like that. But again, you can use these different rails. Now there is a batting rail that's available. That's that would be down there. Um, Most people aren't using the batting rail, so the Grace Company is actually eliminating that. So in the next week or two, after they run out of their batting rails, they're not going to have batting rails for this frame anymore. So that's something if you really, really want one, you can always get like a piece of electrical conduit, and there would be a way that you could just attach it down there because the batting rail isn't for storing batting. It's just for the particular thing that you have on there. If you are, the quilt that you're using at the time. So you basically would have to, crawl under there and then try to roll your batting up on it. There's some people that really like that, but typically we just let our batting and just hang down. And then after we're into our quilt, part way, then it's up off the floor and it's not a big deal. So unless you have pets or small, children that might come and tear the batting, typically you don't even need that batting rail. Now they do have some other accessories for this frame that are really, really cool. And one of them is it's called the glide rail. And that accessory is really neat in that when you roll your quilt forward, it shifts the the this back rail, it'll shift. Matter of fact, what it does is it actually has an idler bar with that as well. And so you'll have the two things, but there's a electronic sensor in there that senses that you're moving forward or back, and so it shifts the rail. So like on this machine, when you first start off, you can easily have about maybe 19-inch, 18 and a half, 19-inch forward and back motion that you can do. But when you get to the end of your quilt and you have, quite a bit of quilt rolled up on here, then it's going to minimize what you're having. So, it takes away from that. But with that gliding rail, it actually will let you have a full 18 inches all the way through a king size quilt, which is really, really cool. Um, Now, the thing about the gliding rail kit is that it's like $1,500, really expensive. And the Grace Company has actually had it on sale for the last few months at 50% off. So, if you were thinking about getting something like that, right now is the time to get it while it's still on sale, because $700 off or whatever it is that's a huge, huge difference. But also, there's some people that they don't like to have to keep raising their the take-up rail. So this rail here, see, I can actually put my hand over here. Yeah, the take-up rail, um, that as you're quilting, you're going to get more and more quilt rolled up on it, and so eventually it's going to be um, putting so much pressure on the bed of your machine that you can't move the machine around, so you have to raise it up. And so these are made to just raise up. Um, so some people don't like doing that, so you can get what they call an idler bar. And so what that does is it's an extra little bar so that when, let's see, where's the best place to show it? Okay, so basically there would be another bar that is just right above this take-up rail. And so that way you can set the height of your idler bar, because this, all it does is the quilt will go around it, and then it all gathers up on this upper part here. And so a lot of people like that. So that's another option that you can get if you want. Um, let's see if there's anything else. I'm going to talk a little bit about the automation. That's something that I haven't really talked about. So there's a little bracket that will attach and come up, and it'll hold your tablet up here. So this that way you're able to work on your quilt. You can set your pattern, whatever it is you want to do, and then you place it, tell it where you want it, and then hit that button for it to sew. Then it will go and it'll stitch it out. So it's really, really cool how that works. Um, One thing that's really interesting though is that so many of the other companies charge so much. I mean, that their uh, software just to add it starts on some of the companies around 10,000, and for like Statler Stitcher and those others, it's more like I think it's 27,000 or something last time I checked, and it could be even more. But when you add this, the robotics to this one, there's two different versions, and the one version starts at $4,500, and then the fancier one is around 7,000. So typically, um, when we do like some kind of a combo where you get the machine, the frame, and the robotics, we can do a really awesome deal, and you can get all of those things. And typically, especially with this one, it's somewhere around 15 or 16,000 Whereas with a lot of those others, you'd be easily, bumping up to almost 30,000. So um, it just, there's no need to pay all that extra money as if you can do the same stuff. And that's the thing that's really interesting is Kathy uses a Gamel. She's had it for about 24 years now, and she can do anything on our 15-inch machine or the 21 or anything as she does on her Gamel. And it has a great stitch. She loves these machines, and there's no reason to have to pay all that extra money. So let's see. I don't see any other questions right at the moment. If you guys can think of anything, I'd love to have you just um, let me know. Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure if. Oh, okay. Yeah, it looked like there might have been something going on. Hopefully, you guys didn't have the picture get locked up. Um, so let's see. Again, we'll talk about the sizes of the frames. So when you get these frames, right now they have an 8 foot, a 10 foot, and a 12 foot um, frame. And so what that consists of is you're going to get an 8 foot and then a 2 foot extension if you're going out to 10 feet, and then if you're going out to 12, you'll have two 2 foot extensions, and that way it allows you to set it up anywhere from 4 to 6 to 8, 10, or 12. And the neat thing about it is that it's the same price whether you get an 8 foot or if you get a 12 foot. You don't pay any additional money on that. And so it kind of makes sense to get the extra extensions because you never know how big of a quilt you may decide to do because it's so much fun to quilt. Um, Also, these are height adjustable. We have this one set, so like if I went like this and had my arms by my side, um, I would typically want this rail here to be about right here. And that's just kind of a general idea of like a starting place. So it's really easy to raise or lower these frames. There's just a bolt that there's two bolts. There's one in each part of those legs. And so what I would do is I would just roll my machine all the way over to the other end, and then I would loosen up the bolts that hold this part on, and then put my middle leg in, uh, and then I would go and hook the other extension on, and then bolt it up, and then yeah, it's just like that. So basically, anytime you do a change on the length of the thing, until you're really used to it, it only takes about 45 minutes to an hour to be able to adjust that. So um, let's see. Uh, okay, so anyway, if any of you that are watching, let me know if the computer screen is uh, locking up. I saw that it was a while ago. I don't exactly know why, but anyway, it looks like it's working now. So yeah, if you can comment and let me know. It's working on my laptop, so hopefully it's okay. Anyway, we are having a special with the Great Wisconsin Quilting Show. Since we can't be there, we're doing free shipping. So typically, for us shipping this around, to areas in Wisconsin or further east, um, the shipping cost to us is usually going to be around $300-400, and so that's a huge savings if you don't have to do that. Plus, because they're internet um, uh, sales, right now we don't have to collect state sales tax. So that's something that if you want to report that on your income tax, you're welcome to do that. But we don't have a way of collecting that. Um, and let's see, for those that may have just started, this is our 21-inch Pro machine. It's called the Block Rocket 21 Pro, or there's also a CUNY 21 Pro. And they're the same machines. They're made for us by the Grace Company. The Grace Company has been in business for 36 years, and we've been, or it could even be longer now, but we've been in business with them for about 24, 25 years. We started back in 87, um, and we were just selling hand quilting frames and hoops, and so then we were the first company to ever offer these online and have them on eBay. And then later on, there was a lot of other companies that started doing that too. But anyway, we've been instrumental in a lot of the things that the Grace Company's done through the years. We told them that we wanted to have a machine frame, and they thought, yeah, that's kind of a fad. That's not going to really go anywhere. But it wasn't too much later that they came out with their GMQ, or Grace Machine Quilter, and it was wood, and it was a good step in the right direction. But eventually, we told them, yeah, we really need to have a long arm. And so then they set about doing that. And so it took a while for them to get everything nailed down the way that we wanted them to do it. So luckily, they just have just an awesome company. And so they do the support. So if you ever have questions or your machine's not working properly, they are there Monday through Friday. Their tech team, they're just really, really good to work with, help you, and they can do most of the things over the phone. Um, a lot of the issues that people end up having are usually going to be like tension, and a lot of it is just getting familiar with the machine, because uh, most of the people that I've ever helped, it's very rare that it's ever something that's mechanically or electronically broken. But if that is ever the case, there is a 1 year on electronics, 2 years on the mechanics, and 5 years on the aluminum case of the machine. So that's the standard warranty. We do have an extended warranty that you can get anytime anything would need to be worked on that um, the Grace Company couldn't do over the phone. Then we would pay for the shipping back to have it fixed. But typically, just the regular warranty is good enough. You always want to make sure you save the box that the machine ships in. It says that your warranty will be voided if you don't keep the box, because you can't ship it. I mean, they just they had people throwing boxes away and then expecting them to pay for those boxes whenever it had to be shipped back to Salt Lake City, Utah, to be repaired. Now, most of the repairs or anything that you might have to do are very simple with this machine, so there's not a lot that you're going to need to do. Most of the machines out there that I've ever seen, you have to have somebody who's certified to work on it. This one, there's instructions in the booklet that come with this that even show you how to do timing. And timing sounds like it's really scary and everything like that, but actually, it's a lot easier to do than you think. There's some really cool tools. Let me kind of show you this. Um, see if we can get a nice little up close view of this. So hang on just a sec. This is the, oh, I'm going to wait for the camera to get caught up. Give me just a second. Okay, so these are the tools that come with this. Now this is really neat because it goes and it sets the hopping foot height. And so they're really nice. The Grace Company, a lot of times, they've had us do stuff like use a credit card or so many sheets of paper, different things like that. But this comes with a timing tool. It comes with 3 bobbins, comes with this really cool little screwdriver for taking the needle in and out. This is really cool. And it's all these little attention to detail things that I just really love. This one, I'm going to see if I hold this up to the camera a little bit, if you'll be able to see that. So hang on a second. Anyway, this little guy is really, really cool because what it does is it goes on the front of your needle. And so as you're putting your needle in, it helps you so that you can get the needle in straight. So really cool little things that they have that make the whole experience using your Grace, this product, just be so awesome. But anyway, um, you get all these really nice tools, and it's so easy to be able to work on your machine. Um, let's see. Let's see. I see that I have somebody watching. Is there any way that whoever's watching can text and tell me if they can still hear me okay? The audio is good. Just say okay or yes or something like that. Just over there on the right hand side should be able to do that. So hopefully you can hear me. So it looks like we have about 10 more minutes for since we have some new people that just came on. This is our Block Rocket 21 Pro, and it's a really awesome machine. It compares nicely to Handy Quilter or Innova or just any of those machines that are out there. It's engineered really well. It's smoother, it's quieter, and it's just a great machine to work with. So basically, um, this is our flagship machine. It's the top of the line. We do have other machines that are really nice. Maybe not quite as fancy as this one, but they are also are a lot more affordable. Um, this one is really easy to use. The thread is just right here. You just threading it takes doesn't take any special skill or anything. Some of the machines out there are pretty complicated the way you have to do it. The machine just it's really sleek and works really well. Um, so has the buttons that you can do, or it's touchscreen. You can go in and you can change the settings on it. It's really nice. You can there's an overspeed alarm, so that one you do on or off depending upon if you like the beeping noise. If you go too fast, it will tell you you're outrunning your stitch regulator. So that one we have off. Usually you can switch handles. So if you're left-handed, you can actually switch it so that this is your on-off button, whereas normally this is your needle up down and this is your on-off. You also have a bobbin warning, so it will estimate when your bobbin is about to run out. So really nice being able to do that. Um, and let's see, also the needle mode is really cool because I can usually, when I'm bringing my bobbin thread up, um, I'll go like this and I can push that once and it goes down halfway, go like that, and then I can bring my bobbin thread up. That way I don't have a bunch of bobbin thread on the back of the quilt. And something that's really cool about that too is it knots it in there, so I don't have to worry about that coming unraveled. But anyway, back to the needle up down. So I can do it where it's just half a stitch like that. Or if I want to, I can go back in my settings and then I can do full stitch. And so this time when I do it, it will do, oh, you have to go back in there. It'll do the whole stitch. And then I can bring my bobbin thread up and then I can just go like this and I can just quilt. So pretty awesome. So this is a really, for being such a big machine, it's a lot lighter than you would think. And so you're able to go in and just move it around without a lot of effort. And it's just really a fun one to work with. See, we don't have that much more time left. Is there anybody that has any questions that they can think of? So yeah, okay, well, I'm not seeing any questions right this second. These handles are adjustable, so you can have it be like if you want to have micro stippling, or you can slide them so that they, you can extend your handles. So that's really cool. And then some of the other settings I really like is like I can turn the lights off on my needle. And so if I'm quilting white on white, sometimes it makes it so that I can't see what I'm doing. So I'll have a light at the end of my frame, and it allows me to cast a shadow across the quilt, turn off the lights in the room, and I can do that. So nice that I can turn that on and off. And then I can have my needle stop in the up or down position there and then go back to there. It has some different regulated modes. Regulate precise means that when I'm stitching, if I stop, it'll stop, and if I go, it'll go. But if I go to cruise, this one's a little bit different because if I go like this and stop, it will still just keep going. And then there's a basting mode, so I can do little basting things. Typically, I don't recommend the basting thing for when you're attaching your quilt. You're going to want to use a regular stitch. There's also manual. And so with manual, when I do that, it just goes at one speed. And then I can raise or lower it with these little buttons if I think I'm going too fast. So manual is really good if you're doing some really, really tight stitches, just because you're like filling in areas and stuff. So for like thread art and stuff like that. So really cool. But I can have some little presets on that. So that means that I can go and I can jump to those different settings. So pretty awesome. And then needle jog is really neat too. So like if my needle is up this high, if I wanted to, like I had cut my thread, let me just do that real quick. So if I wanted to start in a particular place and my needle was up a little bit, then with this needle jog, it's like instead of me having to reach all the way to the back to try to turn the hand wheel, I can lower my needle and get it closer to where I want it, and then I would just hit my needle up down, or in that case, I would I would probably just have it so that I would do a half stitch, and then that way, I'd get it where I wanted it, and then just get my needle to just go down. So anyway, just in the last few minutes of doing this, we have a sale right now on the other version of this. It's a 21R, and it's about $1,500 off. It's usually $79.99, and or actually I think it's really amazing price. Anyway, I we just barely lowered that price, and so I forget what it is. But the thing is, the 19 and this are just the hugest discounts that we're going to have all year. And so if you're looking at getting a long arm, please go to kathyquilts.com, and you can see the pricing on those, and you can see what it is that we have going. We have a hot deals section that you can go to, where there are also machines that are recertified. So the factory recertified machines have the same warranty as the brand new machines. It's just that sometimes there will be a machine that was used at a show, or a machine that we actually took in on trade, and then we have the Grace Company recertify it. So they basically make it a brand new machine on the inside, and the only thing that's a little bit older is just the outside, and so cosmetically it might not look as perfect as a brand new machine. But if you're on a really tight budget, then the factory recertified machines are definitely a good way to go. So yeah, Kathy and I really appreciate being able to do this, and appreciate everybody that stops by to see us. If you have more questions, please don't hesitate to give us a call. Our number is 888-826-0222, and you can call us or text us if you have questions. And we will be here tomorrow as well, and Saturday. We're hoping that everything will go well, and we'll still be able to do this on Saturday as well. So anyway, appreciate you stopping by, and if you have any questions or whatever, please again don't hesitate to email us or visit our website, and you can contact us through our website as well. So yeah, it's hard to see if that's locked up or not. Goodbye.